Carlsbad, People, Purpose, and Impact, an essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Brett Schanzenbach. I'm the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I am your host this morning. And I'm excited to have with me Chris Kydd. Chris is the associate publisher at the Coast News. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Brett. Thanks for having me here with you today.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Thanks for joining us. So you're a local kid.
I am a local. Been here, 40 years or so.
Yeah.
Encinitas,
raised in Encinitas.
Live in San Marcos with my lovely family now.
Yeah, and you went to Santa Barbara, it looks like, for college?
I did. I went to UCSB, started in engineering, and wandered my way to global studies, where I reignited my passion for learning and graduated there. It was great. It was a lot of good times.
Very nice, very nice. So, and now you've been with the Coast News, it looks like, for 20 plus years?
Yeah, I got a call 2003. My dad had fired all his salespeople and he needed help. And I came down, answered the call, and that was, seems like so long ago.
Right.
That was 2003.
It goes fast, right? So you've been in sales there. And of course, you know, the industry, Coast News, there's two sides, right? There's the sales side and the journalism side. So you're on the business side of the newspaper.
Yes, but there are other sides to it too that are hidden.
Sure.
Distribution, just management of the business, the digital side now. Really had the chance, fortunately, to learn through them all firsthand, which makes me, I think, a better leader as I take the reins here.
Sure. And so it's in your 20 years, you've gotten all that experience and all that exposure to all that stuff. And so associate publisher headed for
Publisher.
Yeah.
And, that's a sensitive subject because my dad, who founded the business, is pretty much retired. You know, he's not in the office anymore. But I got to say, there's a certain amount of security that comes being underneath his name. So I can point to him when things go wrong and, put myself up there when things go right.
I love it. And so speaking of your dad, it looks like Coast News was founded about 35 years ago. Is that?
Yeah. My dad, who really is the hero of the whole story here, he decided that he wanted to go into business for himself. He had an MBA. He had some experience with a partner that broke up with another newspaper effort on the East Coast. And he grabbed some desks from an alley in Oceanside and wired the phone system out to the garage, cleared it out, built a dark room out there.
Wow.
A Mac Plus computer. This is back in 1987, 88.
Yeah.
And started calling businesses, calling real estate companies, telling them he's starting a local paper, and no one had heard of it. It was called the Beach News then.
Oh, okay.
And that was the beginning. And after some hard work and hustling and long nights, he had his first issue of the Coast News in September of 1987, which I'd love to go through with you one day when we're off campus here. It's great just to look at the hairdos from the 80s, number one.
Oh, sure.
The stories.
Yeah.
It really gives you a nice insight into what the community was like back then. And that's part of what we're doing here at the Coast News, right? We're really archiving history.
Absolutely.
And looking back at that window of 1987 is great. The real estate prices, that's a fun one to look at.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
So yeah, he started in our garage back in 87.
Wow. The Beach News and that's what it was called in 87, the Beach News?
Yeah, about 1990, maybe 91, I think. We changed our name to the Coast News.
The Coast News.
There was a misconception that we were just hitting surfers on the beach, and that made it hard to sell our demographics to advertisers.
Right.
Which is really the lifeblood of the entire operation. We're funded by advertisers. And when readers, you out there in the community, support our advertisers, you're actually helping us do more local reporting. And that's really vital to our survival. So yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, we're going to take a brief pause and we're going to come back. We're talking to Chris Kydd, the associate publisher at the Coast News. We're going to come back and talk about all their publications they have these days and their formats and everything going on. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. So Chris, you guys have been in business for 35 years and you're still a print publication.
Yes.
there's a lot of pressure on print publications, it feels like. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, pressure. It's an everyday thing around here. We could have not survived some of these recent challenges. Just recently, our local printer here in North County, located in Vista, called Advanced Web Offset, they shut down.
Yes.
Other print presses are shutting down around the world, and really, it's a threat to freedom of speech, to a lot of things. But that made it hard for us. We landed on our feet, fortunately, but that was a huge challenge. Distribution-wise, we're not putting out quite as many papers as we were in our heyday.
Okay.
We certainly had to sort of trim the fat a little bit there and make sure we weren't wasting resources on print, because the cost of a newspaper has probably doubled in the last 10 years just for each unit of publications out there. But we also have been slowly growing our digital audience at the same time, which makes sense, right? And so our future really depends on serving more marketing solutions to our customers and being more of a digital ad agency, if you will, in a way. And also banding together with other community papers in the region to attract larger ad buys. And that's something we can talk about a little later if we have time.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the various communities that you guys serve, because you're called Coast News.
The Coast News, yeah.
You're a little broader than just the coastal communities. Talk about that.
So we distribute from Oceanside down through Carmel Valley, along the coast, out through Rancho Santa Fe, and that area, Torrey Highlands, with the Coast News, which is really our flagship paper that's been around since 1987. That was the beach news. We also have an inland edition that serves Escondido, San Marcos, and Vista, and that's an every other week publication. We have readership in all those areas, customers in those areas, and a commitment to those areas to cover the news that matters to them and keep them connected. And that's really the essence of our mission, is to connect people with local government, with their neighbors, with the business community, and be a platform, credible platform, where they can go for information. And it's a really a great thing to do, man. There's nothing that fills that void, right, of being connected, like this kind of job.
Back in the day, when I was in college, I actually worked at the old Vista Press.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And
so did my father.
Did he really? Okay,
yeah, he did.
Yeah, and so which it was actually a really fun experience to kind of be in a newsroom and be dealing with layouts and that kind of stuff. But then of course one by one those local ones all went away, and eventually we were down to what was it like there was the Blade Citizen and then the North County Times, and then when they got bought, like you guys are I feel like you guys are the only real localized news source out there.
That's right. I mean, we have other community papers that we technically compete with that are UT owned, but their ownership is out of LA. It's the LA Times publication. I respect what they do, because anyone in this business who's telling truth is doing a good job, I think. But yeah, we've certainly managed to survive, really due to stubbornness and willingness to throw down on our personal credit cards when we have to, make the hard decisions, to let people go, restructure. And we're on the verge of another one, which is to step out of our wonderful office space on the corner of Coast Highway 101 and Encinas Boulevard and step back and find something a little more humble. And we're doing that here in a month. So we're gonna do that just to survive, and that's what it takes, man. It's just that's
business, right?
It's business.
I mean, and we've seen it here from a chamber perspective. We've seen it since COVID. More and more people are saying, okay, we've gotten comfortable with people's productivities working from home. Do we really need X, square footage? And so we've seen on some of the big scales, and then on some of the more medium-sized scales, people just go scaling down.
Sure.
It makes sense,
Yeah.
Get efficient.
Well, what's the alternative?
Right.
You pinch pennies till you die. I don't know. I want to get comfortable again so we can get back to putting out good papers.
Yep.
Well, we're putting out good papers now, but actually grow in the news reporting side and do a better job covering all the communities we serve.
I saw on your website that in 2016, your CVC audit, is that what you call it, CVC?
The Circulation Verification Council. It's an audit bureau that basically verifies our readership and does a readership study for us.
Thank you. The CVC audit then showed that 78% of your readers don't read the UT.
That's right. And does that come as a surprise to you, Brett?
At first it did.
Yeah. That's a commonly used statistic when we're talking to advertisers who are also in that paper. We want
Sure.
them to know that they can reach a new audience through us.
Yeah.
There's a perception sometimes that, you got the whole community covered when you're there in the daily paper. But I think it's the kind of content and the in-depth content we have, because we don't have to put a paper out every week, that drives people to read and pick up the Coast News and go to our website or social media pages. It's
Yeah.
so we are different, and
That's
yeah.
great.
And I do respect what the UT does too. I think the more independent or the more news sources we have, the healthier the community.
Sure.
I really
Sure.
believe that.
And that's great. I think that's a great attitude to have. The Coast News is printed weekly?
The Coast News is weekly, and
the Inland is
the Inland
bi-weekly?
edition is biweekly. That's right, every other
Okay.
week.
But then, as you pointed out, your digital platform, your website, is growing and is continuing to thrive. So how frequently is content posted there?
Regularly, ongoing. You'll catch posts that go online before you can find them in the printed paper often.
Yeah.
That we tend to do a pretty big dump of stories on Thursdays, Fridays, but we are ongoing posting, and we wow, it's probably 20 to 30 posts a week at least, which are
Mhm.
articles, stories, columns,
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Yeah, and I get your emails, which are
Oh, great.
constantly, showcasing stories in my area, which I love, because I'll see that little headline like, "Ooh, what's that?" I'm diving in.
That's a great source of traffic for our website and a way to connect with the community again, and that has been growing, and it'll continue to develop. We're changing the theme of the Friday e-newsletter to a weekender email where
Nice.
we can just fulfill that basic impulse to pick up a newspaper. What's going on this weekend?
Yeah.
And on the newsletter, the same thing. So that's been coupled with a jump towards a little more digital orientation of our business, where we're starting to, I don't want to get too technical, but just, exporting HTML from user-generated content and all that
Mhm.
to emails and web. And it's been a fun learning process. And but I got to admit, I kind of miss the good old days when newspapers were it.
Yeah, just print it out, baby.
That's right.
Well, I think if we're honest, like the switch to the digital, it's got to be stressful in a sense that you're constantly trying to be so timely, so fast and first, and get it out.
Yeah, that's the instinct. That's what people want to be first. We have curiosity, right? As human
Yes.
beings. I remind our editors, and we've had a few. Fortunately, Jordan has been with us for a while, and he's doing an excellent job, Jordan Ingram. But in the past, and he even succumbs to this sometimes, you become ambulance chasers, or you want to
Yeah.
go and tell the immediate story. And the weekly format provides us an opportunity to really dig deeper
Nice.
and not react to the story and possibly say something wrong or leave out key perspectives or whatever. But it allows us to get in depth a little more, and that's really where I think we shine. And I sometimes have to, put the boundaries up and focus us back on that, because
Yeah.
we can't be everywhere. We're a small company.
Yeah.
And but sometimes, the shark attack or whatever, we're going to rush down there and take a look
Of course,
at it.
yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You want to be that Johnny on the spot for something hyper local, because that's your sweet spot. But no, that's great. I have to give a shout out to my favorite Coast News writer, Steve Petersky. He does a great job and
Absolutely.
covers.
Steve's great.
He covers a lot of Carlsbad events and Carlsbad news. So there's a little shout out to Steve and thanking him for all his efforts and great job. So we've talked about how often the print copy is published, but distribution, share with people maybe who, podcasts go far and wide. We have no idea who's listening right now. So maybe somebody hasn't seen your paper before. Where can they find it?
Sure. Well, look at your grocery store first, 7-Eleven. We try to be in the high traffic areas and highly visible. You'll find traditional newsstands on the corners. We have, for the Coast News, around 520 drop spots currently.
Nice.
In the Inland edition, 250, 300 right now.
Yeah.
And that's a little depressed from COVID. We did have a little more distribution and readership, but we saw a huge spike in the digital when that happened. So you should be able to find, it's kind of like when you learn a new word, you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
If there's a reader or listener out there that hasn't seen the Coast News or picked it up, now you're going to see it. It's going to be at your favorite restaurant, Tip Top Meats down the street, Lazy Acres. We're really, really easy to find. And you can find us online too at thecoastnews.com.
Coastnews.com.
All kinds of content there.
And at thecoastnews.com, would that be the best place? Like if, again, say somebody's hearing this and doesn't currently receive your e-newsletters,
Sure.
Would they sign up at your website?
Yeah, you can do that. You can sign up for push notifications as well.
Yeah.
Your first visit there, you'll get a drop down and it'll allow you to opt in there. And that'll give you, push notifications on your phone or device every time we do a post. So those are ways we're connecting with our readers. We did try a podcast for a while there, and we did win some awards. But our podcast host Kelly was recruited by I think one of the bigger podcast companies up in LA.
Wow!
I forget what it is. All of a sudden, it just drew a blank. But
no, that's okay.
We just put an end to that, and I'm trying to go back to basics. Was that
because I had seen on there the Lick the Plate in Cheers, North County? Was she the host of those?
So those are still technically. We carry those, but those aren't our entities.
Oh, gotcha.
So we have a dining columnist, Ryan Wolt, a beer columnist who also does coffee, and he has his podcast on our website. The other one, Lick the Plate, is David Boylan. He's our columnist for our dining columnist, and he does his own, and we carry it on our website. And one of our other reporters just started one called Stay Classy San Diego, which we were a little hesitant to host because there was some controversial guests, and it was during an election season. So we kind of rolled back on that. We're going to revisit hosting that as well.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You have to balance a lot of factors there. So Lick the Plate in Cheers, North County can be found on your website, and those are folks connected to you, but they're not your own. That's great. No problem there.
The podcasts aren't. But they're employees, both of them, I believe, on the columnist side.
Yeah. Great. And then we've mentioned the Coast News and the Inland Edition, but you have a couple other publications as well. Do you still do the Rancho Santa Fe News? And
actually, that was a victim of COVID. We chose to fold that up due to advertiser participation. We had really some big advertisers in there that pulled back, and then it just wasn't financially responsible to continue. But we still deliver that area, and I think it's a plus. They get a little better read now. More content from the region. Because the ad content sort of dictates how big the paper is each time. And it was a little thinner, a little less impressive. And now when you put our paper out there, the Coast News, next to the Rancho Santa Fe Review, there's something to be said about the bigger paper with more content. So what we need qualified sales reps who can consult with businesses, understand their marketing problem, and deliver a solution that we're a part of.
Sure.
So if anyone out there is listening and wants a career in media, come talk to me.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. What else? Anything else that you wanted to share?
I don't know how much time we have left, but I did want to just recognize our crew because I give it up to them. I mean, it's you mentioned Steve Patersky. We have Samantha in Oceanside doing a great job. Steve Wire in Encinitas, Laura Place covering on the southern part of our territory, and others who in-house. Steve Lewis, Susan Otto, who you may know through networking at the Chamber. She's amazing, and she really serves her clients well and is just a bright light in the office. And Phyllis, our production manager, Becky, our operations manager. I really, if I left anyone out, I'm sorry, but I give it up to them because it takes a good team.
It takes a village to make anything happen. Yeah.
And so I would be embarrassed if I didn't plug them a little bit here.
Well, and you guys are a great community partner at the Coast News. Overall, I really appreciate that. And, like I said, I did mourn the loss of the North County Times, but I was so grateful you guys are there and you have that real local vibe and feel. And I appreciate the Union Tribune, but like you said, it's just gotten more remote and less connected to the local. And so thank goodness you guys are there.
Well, we're gonna keep pushing.
Yeah.
It's been a labor of love lately and not very rewarding financially, but we're committed to the community. And as I said before, it's that connectedness that I think keeps us engaged. I mean, where else can you know the chamber people firsthand, the mayors, the owners of businesses?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I really don't want to give that up.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for taking the time to come down and to share with us about Coast News and all the great things that you guys are part of. And we look forward to you guys growing your digital and keeping your print going and continuing to be a great community partner.
Well, thank you. And community, please let us know what you'd like to see more from us.
Best way to contact you would be the website or your email?
Website, call me on my cell phone, 760-500-0072. Email us, call us. I'll be a part of it, please.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Brett. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio. And please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.